How's it going, guys? So, there's a fight coming up on March 18th in the heavyweight division, which, although I don't think it's a very significant fight for the division, I think it's an intriguing matchup and a fight that could potentially be very explosive. And that's between Mariusz Wach and Erkan Teper. Now, both of these guys at the moment are on a rebuilding process. Erkan Teper lost his last fight quite badly to Christian Hammer, who then went on to defeat David Price. And it was a fight that Erkan Teper was a big favourite in. A lot of people expected that he'd win. Me, I wasn't so sure. I never made a prediction for that one because I felt it was a interesting fight, and it was an interesting stylistic match for Erkan Teper. So I wasn't sure how it was going to go. So I never even bothered making a video. But he lost the fight, and he lost the fight comfortably on points. And Christian Hammer was able to take away Erkan Teper's power, and to be honest, Erkan Teper, he looked a little bit lethargic in the fight. I think that the long layoff and the controversy surrounding the ban that he received, I think he came back badly out of shape, and I don't think he was himself in there. I suppose some would say that because he didn't have his PEDs, because he tested positive for PEDs, and that was why he was banned, and obviously coming back he wasn't able to take nothing. Perhaps that had an effect on him, I really don't know. But whatever the case may be, he lost to Christian Hammer, and it set his career back big time. Now, Mariusz Wach, he's on a rebuilding process also because the only two meaningful fights that he's had in his career, the only two world level fights, which were against Vladimir Klitschko and Alexander Povetkin, he lost both of those fights badly, and I mean really badly. Now, he went in against Vladimir Klitschko, and he showed a very good chin and very good durability in that fight. He was very tough. But he took a horrendous beating. I mean, the amount of punches that he took, the amount of solid right hands he took from Klitschko. I don't think I've ever seen a fighter take so many consecutive solid right hands from Vladimir Klitschko and not even go down, man. I mean, he never even went down after all them shots, and it was just sustained punishment, and it has to have had a negative effect on the rest of his career. But I mean, man, the guy showed a tremendous chin and toughness and a lot of heart, so it's commendable, I suppose. But when he fought Alexander Povetkin, it was a different dynamic. Of course, Povetkin is a very different style to Klitschko, and Povetkin actually, I mean, he gave Mariusz Wach a beating on the inside with body shots. I mean, that left hook to the body, man, was giving Mariusz Wach all kinds of problems. Mariusz Wach did, however, manage to hit Povetkin a lot more than he was able to hit Klitschko. He opened up a big cut on Klitschko on Povetkin's cheek. However, that just angered Povetkin, and Povetkin just went into a fucking frenzy and just beat the crap out of him in the later rounds. And Mariusz Wach, even though he was the bigger guy, the stronger guy, and was able to hit Povetkin on the outside, just the sheer will of Povetkin. Because Povetkin's a very tough, hard man himself. He was able to break Mariusz Wach down. And in the 12th round, even though Mariusz Wach was on his feet and could have gone the distance, Mariusz Wach had a horrible gash on his face, and Povetkin was just, he was ready to take him out. And the referee was just like, you know what, there's no point letting this continue because he's just going to get more of a beating. So he stopped the fight in the 12th round. So, yeah, the only two top-level opponents that he's fought so far, he's lost badly. But, this is a good opportunity for both guys here because, like I said, they're both on a rebuilding process. They're both trying to get their career back on track and trying to become contenders again. And, it's the logical next step for both guys now. The fight's taking place in Germany, I believe, where Erkan Teper's from. And Mariusz Wach, he's fought in Germany several times, Mariusz Wach, I think. So he'll be alright fighting there, and I don't think that'll be significant at all. This is going to be a very intriguing fight. It's going to be a fight where what Erkan Teper needs to do is he needs to look at that Povetkin fight and he needs to get himself into shape for starters because, Erkan Teper is he's not an athlete. He's a big fat fucking butterbean type heavyweight, man. The guy really needs to get himself in good shape and lose some weight. So, for him, he's going to have to get himself in shape. He's going to have to look at that Povetkin tape and see what Povetkin was able to do on the inside with the body shots. And, because the body is going to be the key for him because Mariusz Wach is a very, very tough guy with a hard chin. So the way that you break a fighter like that down is of course you go to the body, and plus Mariusz Wach's a tall guy. He's about 6'8". You know, he's almost as tall as Tyson Fury. So, you know, it's a very big guy here. So Erkan Teper's going to be in an uphill battle facing this big dude. It's going to be like trying to chop down a big tree, or you know, trying to climb a big mountain. You know, it's going to be an uphill battle for Teper. So that's why I say that Teper needs to get himself into shape, and he needs to have better stamina than he's had previously in his career. It's not going to be easy. Look. What makes it very difficult to predict or to analyze with this fight is I have no idea what shape either guy is going to be in, because Mariusz Wach, he's a fighter who at times he's been in shape. Like when he fought Klitschko and when he fought Povetkin, he was in decent shape for those fights. He had a very good training camp and a lot of good sparring and whatnot. Whereas other fights I've seen of Mariusz Wach, he's looked awful. He's looked, flabby and clumsy and uncoordinated and slow. And I just think that a lot really depends on the approach he takes to training and whatnot. Now, he has all the natural advantages here. Like I said, he's the bigger guy, much taller, longer arms. He's tough, durable, granite chin. He can punch too. I mean, if you look at his fight against Christian Hammer, for example, yeah, that's one thing I forgot to mention, was that Mariusz Wach himself fought Christian Hammer several years ago, and he knocked Christian Hammer the fuck out. It was brutal. He was having problems prior to the knockout. Christian Hammer was actually outboxing him and making him miss and stuff, but Mariusz Wach eventually, midway through the fight, just caught him with a solid shot and just put him to sleep. So, that bodes well for him going into this fight. It'll give him confidence that he was able to beat Hammer, who Erkan Teper wasn't able to beat. So that'll give Mariusz Wach a good boost of confidence going into this fight. But obviously, as we know, the triangle theory means nothing because styles make fights, and Erkan Teper is certainly a very different style of fighter to Christian Hammer. Christian Hammer's more of a boxer, a guy who looks to make you reach and looks to try and outbox you and then wear you down, using kind of a sporadic attack, whereas Erkan Teper is just a fucking a Terminator in the ring. He's a guy who comes forward looking to take your head off with every punch. So yeah, it's a very different style. One thing that I could see happening, if Erkan Teper is in shape, if he slims down a bit, if he gets himself into decent condition, if he comes into the fight, hyped up and ready to go, and then goes in and just works the body and looks to knock him out like he did against Price, I think he could stop Mariusz Wach. However, it's going to be a late stoppage because Mariusz Wach is far too tough to be knocked out early. I don't see that happening though, because Erkan Teper to me is like I said, he's a guy who I've never really seen him in shape before. He's a fat guy. He's a guy who sits around eating kebabs and whatnot and doesn't train that hard. So, I don't see him. I don't see him coming in fantastic condition. I can't see it happening. I can't envision him coming into this fight, looking like a Mike Tyson and whatnot. He's gonna be himself. I mean, I haven't really seen any evidence whatsoever to suggest that Erkan Teper is going to be taking a more serious approach to this fight than he has to any other. So, but in order to win the fight convincingly, that's what he's going to have to do. He's going to have to be very aggressive, going to have to be in shape, he's going to have to be dedicated, and he's going to have to be prepared to chop down this big mountain. So, what Mariusz Wach needs to do is he needs to make his size count, because a problem with Mariusz Wach in the past is, although he's the taller guy against nearly everybody he fights, sometimes he tends to be a little bit lazy with his jab and doesn't use his jab enough. That was one of his problems against Povetkin. I mean, if he was able to have a better jab against Povetkin, he could have won that fight. He really could, because I've seen other fighters able to confuse Povetkin a little bit with a jab. So, if Mariusz Wach was a little bit more consistent, maybe a little bit quicker, he could have had a good chance of winning that fight, but he ended up just getting broke down. But honestly, I don't think that Erkan Teper is anywhere near as explosive or as consistent with his attacks as Povetkin is. I mean, he might hit a little bit harder, he might have a slightly heavier hands than Povetkin, but he just doesn't have the ability or the boxing skill, because let's not forget, Alexander Povetkin was an Olympic gold medalist with a very good amateur background who had fought a lot of great competition on his way up. So Alexander Povetkin is a guy with boxing skills, where Erkan Teper, to me, I don't think he's very skilled. I don't know how successful he was as an amateur, but from what I've seen as a professional, Teper to me looks like a basic, straightforward, heavy-handed puncher. To me, he doesn't seem like much of a technician. So I don't see him being as effective on the inside with body shots and whatnot as Alexander Povetkin was. Obviously, he's not the athlete or the boxer that Vladimir Klitschko was. So honestly, I'm starting at this stage, and my mind may change depending on what I see from training footage and whatnot. But at this stage, I'm kind of favouring Mariusz Wach, because Mariusz Wach to me has so many physical and natural advantages here that I just think that it's going to be an uphill struggle for Teper. It's going to be an uphill battle. Mariusz Wach, and I've seen Mariusz Wach in shape before. I've seen him train hard and spar. I mean, he's sparred with people like David Haye, for example. I believe he's even sparred with Klitschko before they fought, like years before they fought. So I think he has been in some good sparring camps, and he's got a lot of experience, Mariusz Wach does. So, yeah, I'm not sure about this one, but I'm starting at this stage, I'm favouring Mariusz Wach. One thing that you could take into account, though, and I mentioned this earlier in the video, is that the fight is taking place in Erkan Teper's backyard, so Erkan Teper will have the support from the crowd. Erkan Teper, he'll be the house fighter. Erkan Teper will be the one who, he has a lot of pressure on his shoulders to win in front of his fans, so maybe that'll give him more of an incentive to win the fight. But Mariusz Wach, to me, I think his size and his natural advantages will be a problem for Teper. So, and just based on the fact that I don't think Erkan Teper is a dedicated athlete, and I think Mariusz Wach, depending on who he's fighting, he can be a dedicated athlete. I'm favouring Mariusz Wach to win a decision at this stage, but look, my mind may change on this. I'll probably do a video closer to the fight. The fight's taking place next month. I believe it's the same night as the Triple G Jacobs fight, which I can't wait for that fight. That's going to be a great fight, a really explosive one, which could go either way, really. I can't wait for that one, but I would like to check this fight out first. It adds another interesting fight to that night. So got quite a few fights to watch that night, in fact, I think. So yeah, let me know what you guys think, and thanks for watching.